second, get my notes up. Make sure everything's in place. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap, number 70. I am very excited this week. If you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of tonight's guest. It is none other than Curt Isakson. He is a battalion chief in Escambia County, Florida. He runs the best conferences in the country throughout the year, from Command Officer Boot Camp to HROC and everything in between. And he will straight up tell you that it is worth the risk. Chief Ike, it is my pleasure to have you today as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 70. Welcome, sir.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about it. With the last year with COVID and everything else, I'm not a big Zoom guy I've done a few podcasts with, Fit to Fight Fire and Brothers in Battles and that. But, I literally, this might be less than a half a dozen times I've ever done something like this. But I was excited about this, getting to talk with you when I was in Oklahoma, and then you came down for the 2 days commanding from the sidelines. And I just like the style, how you do it. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to it. If we go for 30 minutes, great. If we go for 3 hours, good. I have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. I'm in the cottage, so there's nobody bothering or disturbing me.
Well, you're getting them fired up already, so that's awesome, man. To everyone watching live, and there's already a bunch of people already showing up, if you have questions for Chief Isakson or myself, do not hesitate to throw them at us in the comments, and I will get to them. And on the intro, I could have talked for probably 10 or 15 minutes on all that Chief Isakson has done. But I tried to keep the intro really short and sweet and get to the meat. And so, Chief, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, we don't need all that fluff.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll get right into it. And like I said, the conferences. Right out the gate, I'm going to hit you with HROC coming up next month. You just announced that you secured that Best Western on a few days ago. So talk to me about how that's shaping up to be what might be one of the best HROCs ever.
No, this will be the best hands-on conferences we've ever done in 10 years. Ray McCormick and I started 10 years ago with the first conference, Urban to Suburban Fire Tactics, and it's kind of evolved amongst the CFT team. But, we've known about this Best Western, obviously, since September 16th when Hurricane Sally hit Pensacola Beach. But, we couldn't let the cat out of the bag. If we mentioned it, it would be like false marketing, false advertisement if we didn't get it. But we did have it for the free Pensacola Beach Benefit Conference back in December. And I'll tell you what was cool about that is we tapped into a little bit. Todd Edwards did a great job with the training groups that we had with forcible entry, stretching lines, some drop bars, search. We had Eric Allen with fast board. And I tell you, the whole time is, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm just literally, I'm not teaching. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting back at the CFT trailer and I'm checking it all out. I'm just watching what's going on, how everything's evolving. I'm thinking, what would it be to have a building like this for a month or 2 months or 3 months? And, we talked to Luke. He's the owner. And Todd's been, great working with him, just trying to figure it out. And they've been awesome wanting us to have it. It really just comes down to money. When the demolition crew and whatever it's been, 2, 3, 4 days ago, when we got the official word that we were going to have a 3-story multi-wing wraparound balcony on the Gulf of Mexico with a boardwalk system connected into it. That's literally a Red Ryder BB gun shot away from the ballroom at the Hilton. It's right next to the Hilton for anybody that's been on Pensacola Beach. The Hilton's where Ray always does the vertical hose stretch up like a 200-foot hose stretch. And this building's right next door to it. So logistically, it's like a dream come true. If we do anything half this cool, I'll be blown away. So we're working on it, supply list. I was on the phone yesterday or day before yesterday, last couple of days with Jim McCormick from FDTN, the ultimate, nobody's better. He is the man when it comes to hands-on training, whether it be, his Disney World for Firefighters in Indianapolis or just acquired structures and making sure I'm getting his input. So this is going to be a huge team effort. We have more instructors coming to this HROC/CFT Fire School because it's combined. HROC is normally in December. It's been postponed. And this is going to be the mecca of CFT hands-on training and conferences. And just, it's the caveat too is so many people have been locked up since last February or March, and things are out. We're going to be over 400 firefighters. I know we're going to social distance for all you people freaked out there, but they do have this thing called herd immunity. Plus they have vaccines. So just chill out. If you don't feel safe, keep your ass at the house. But we are the ones that want to come. We're going to train. We're going to force doors. We're going to stretch lines. We're going to do some searching. We're building some props. It's going to be neat. I was on the phone today with a few sponsorships on making sure we're trying to get some battery operated saws, trying to get some gas powered saws.
Nice.
So we're not going to cut any corners when it comes to, doing stuff. There's no, I'll tell you exactly what I've told multiple people. We do not have a budget in relation to buying materials, because when this thing's over, I don't want to feel like we were trying to cut corners or anywhere. I want it to be when it's over with, that if we're having to fund this thing through other conferences, that's fine. But when it's over, I want to feel like it's for the student. And I'll tell you what I want. I want when the student leaves, I want them to feel like I felt 23 years ago or whatever it was. The first year I went to FDIC in Indianapolis, and Bob Pressler was the hands-on coordinator. And I was like, this is real fire training. And so, I can't replicate that, but that's my goal.
Right.
My gold standard is I want to provide what I received the first time I went to FDIC and Bob Pressler was running, the hands-on stuff. And we're going to do everything we can. I think we're going to have over 50 instructors from Cody Trestrell and Rob Fisher and the Brothers in Battle from the Pacific Northwest to Clark Lamping and guys out of Las Vegas. Obviously Chief McGrail, I think's got, I don't know what he's got, nearly 20 people from Denver coming. So it's going to be a pretty neat deal. It's going to, and I'll tell you, when we're talking about CFT and County Fire Tactics conferences, I get a lot of phone calls, people wanting to do conferences. I don't care if 1,000 conferences pop up. It's not a competition, but I will tell you, I don't worry about what anybody and everybody else does with their conference. I know for me, Jessica and I want to provide the gold standard, and it's not about competition and it's not about profit margin. It's about when somebody leaves, and if they paid out of their pocket and they gave up their time, meaning they were on annual leave,
right,
swaps, like, the city or county, the fire department did not pay for their conference, didn't give them time. They're away from their family. When they leave, I want them to feel like the investment was worth it. That's our number one thing. And if you haven't seen our little 4-minute video that Brian Kerr did, the guy that made the brass tacks videos, he did a little 4-minute video for us. It says it all. We want you to get off an airplane. We want you to have a free ride. We don't want Uber. We want you to deliver to the front door to Hilton. We want the lowest price hotel rooms. We want you to get 10, 15, 20% off your food. We want drink specials. We just want it to be a full package deal, there's limitations on everything.
Sure.
We can't do what Jim does at FDTN. We never will be. It's impossible to replicate the quality of hands-on training he does. But what we do is we do our thing where we're trying to provide quality lectures, intellectual, formal, professional developmental seminars with a tad bit of hands-on. So when you go to Jim's place up there in Indianapolis, you're a little smarter, brain-wise, educational-wise. So then you can apply that blue-collar skill, which is what this job is. It's a blue-collar job.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to catch you up, Chief. A lot of people fired up. Tank Fired Up More said, fired up, let's go, glad to be here. A lot of hype. It's going to be a solid episode with one of the state's best in the biz. That's from Robert Ramirez saying, great job, brothers. Chief Ike, the man, from Kevin Morgan. And then I'm going to hit you with Brian Brush real quick, because he came in and said, no better training, no better education, all because it is the best intent and the best environment. God bless you, Curt, Jessica, and the entire CFT team. And so, yeah, a lot of praise there. And thank you, Scott Slocum. He linked the video in for the audience to see. So I got a first question for you from the audience. Are you ready for it, Chief?
Go ahead.
It said, from Chad Otruba, Chief, how do you tackle when there's a disconnect between chief officers / management and line firefighters, where operations feels like management isn't invested in their people?
Well, I don't want to get off on a negative tangent, but the reality is, the older I get, I guess the more experience and wiser I get. And Bob Pressler used to say back in the day in FDNY, 12,000 people, he called it the 500 club. 500 out of 12,000 were in a job. I personally, I used to call it the 1% club, and Jessica's a positive thinker. She'd say, no, I'll call it, it's the 5%. And I was talking to a big, mentor of mine the other day, and he said, if we really want to be honest with ourselves, it's 1% of 1% that's into the job. Just everybody listening right now, think about the size of your job, whether it's 10 people in your department or 100 or 1,000. How many care about being on this podcast or listen to Fit to Fight Fire or any podcast, or they care about going to a conference? And, that's just reality. But to try to answer the question, that's a hard question. But, look at a fire department and find out their training budget. And I say this quite a bit when I just got a structure fire coming on my phone here. I had to look at it. So the reality is, look at your training budget for a fire department. And if you have 100 people in your fire department, and your training budget's $10,000, divide that by 100 people. Yeah. That's how much they believe in training,
right?
Or don't believe in training.
Exactly.
That's, and that's a sad thing. And, reality is, you would think for a job that, that is put on a pedestal that comes not only for fires, but, natural disasters, tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes. I deal with a lot of hurricanes, that you would think that fire departments would have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per employee. I hate to call us employees, but firefighters. So if you said $2,000 for a 100-man department, or fire person department, that's $200,000.
Right.
And that doesn't exist. I mean, it really is a problem. The problem too is we have people that are dying to be the fire chief so much that they'll bounce around all over the country and go from city to city to city. And, they'll go big to small, small to big. And I truly support the National Fire Academy. I support the EFO, but I only support it when it's a Brian Brush. Brian Brush went and got his EFO at the National Fire Academy. But Brian Brush didn't get that before he had his college degree. He didn't get that before, he was a firefighter and went through 3 different city fire department fire academies as a rookie school, and is into, back to the basics and training and all that other key stuff. So it's putting the cart before the horse, and I want to start rattling off some of Ray's stuff from his, his keynote at FDIC, whatever that's been 12 years ago. Some of the best quotes ever came out of his thing. But, he came up with a thing before that thing called the GFO, the Ghetto Fire Officer. The reality is, what we need in a fire service is ghetto fire officers. And I don't have an answer, but I can, I tell you that when I travel the country, more times than not, when I meet a fire chief, a deputy chief, an assistant chief, hell, even battalion chiefs, they don't even know what a 30-inch crowbar is between a pinned hooligan tool.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't know the difference between a 7/8, a 15/16, a selecto gallonage, or a fixed gallonage nozzle. And that's sad, because that is the backbone of what we do. It's critical. And I don't understand how they can run a fire department if they don't know what their people need. And I'll tell you this, I'm changing gears on my own focus, that if you're ate up and you're into this job, I'm going to just tell you, I was in denial about it. You're not going to find it in your fire department. If you're into this job and you're ate up, you got to, don't kill yourself, man. I've been doing it for nearly 30 years now. I've been on multiple paid fire departments, a lot of contract training. And you know what? My wife and I took a long walk today, and, we were talking about what I do or don't do for my fire department, the 850. And I get frustrated, man, because I just, I'll be straight up. I'll tell the whole world that's listening. If you work for Escambia County Fire Rescue, you get to go to CFT fire conferences for free. Free. It's in your backyard. So I want everybody listening to think about this. How many people in your department, your job, if you had HROC, CFT ODP with John Norman, Mike Turpak, Frank Visguso, you had water on the fire with, Ray McCormick and UL and Daryl Liggins and Brian Brush. And I mean, I could just keep going on the names. Right. It goes on and on. And all they had to do was get up at their house and drive 20 minutes to it. How many would go and how many wouldn't go? Right. I can tell you on my job, I pulled out the rosters. 75% of my organization in 10 years has never stepped foot in the Pensacola Beach Hilton for a CFT conference. And I'm not knocking them down. I'm not being – and they're listening to me right now. They're secret people. I'm thinking about getting Patreon, so they got to pay to listen to me so they don't they can't gab out on me. But the reality is it's taken me years to not let it bother me because I give it to them for free. I just want them to get infected by listening, to Chief Isakson. And I'll tell you a great example. One of my right-hand guys, Matt Scallon's been with us from day one, works on Ladder 12. His dad was one of my captains on Pensacola. That guy was I'm trying not to use four-letter words. His ass was bottomed out, and it was depressing me. Because, I get negative, too. When I talk on a doc, I'm coaching myself. I coach myself more than I coach anybody else when I talk, by the way.
Right on.
But he was bottomed out. He went to ODP. It wasn't me. And he listened to Mo Davis and Clyde Gordon and Todd Edwards and Frank Masguso on Wednesday. And, man, he was on the top of the mountain. And he wrote an email and sent it out to our whole fire department because things are bad. Now, for all you listeners, I want you to get out your pen and paper, and I want you to write this down. A Escambia County Fire Rescue starting fireman today makes $10.78 an hour. It's the same starting pay it was 20 years ago. Come to Escambia County Fire Rescue, and we'll pay you with fires. That's what we do. We pay you by going to fires. $10.78 an hour, and it's frustrating. But Matt went to this conference, hung out with another 150, give or take, people that are into the job from all over the country, Alaska, Hawaii, the Pacific Northwest, California. I mean, literally from all over the country. And he sends this phenomenal email to our whole organization, how excited he is. Then he steps up to the training division. And now for the last couple of days, this next 10 days, on his days off, he's helping with hands-on training at Acquired Structure. And that's what you got to do is, man, if you're into this job, you got to stay into it by hanging out with one percenters. You got to go to conferences. You got to get on podcasts. You've got to feed the desire. You've got to read the right books. And, tonight I got to tell you, anybody out there who's not read Report from Engine Company A2, you got to read it. And this book actually was given to me about 25 years ago from Pat Grace, one of my top mentors as a young fireman growing up. And, I tell people all the time, man, that's a book you just got to read it. I mean, you just got to understand what was going on in the South Bronx and how the fire service, evolved. But you've got to feed the desire. And, being on here just a minute ago, I got Jason Hubbleman, Chief Hubbleman, man, what a phenomenal leader, chief, texting me wanting to give money to help support supplies for the Best Western training. And that's what you got to do. You got to network with people around the country. And I've said this in other podcasts. On Thanksgiving, Christmas, when a hurricane is coming, and it seems like we have a hurricane coming our way every year. I get more texts from brothers on the job in Chicago, New York, Miami, the West Coast. I get more texts from them in an hour within 72 hours than I do from anybody that lives around here. You know what I mean? It's, and it's not a bad thing. The reality is, birds of a feather flock together. You look at FDIC groups, teams that date back to the 90s, they're not all from the same job. It was hard for me to understand in the 90s when I went to listen to, signed up for Andy Frederick's class, the Engine Company Essentials class, when I went in the 90s at FDIC. And I was like, why didn't Andy Fredericks have like all FDNY firefighters? I mean, he had Mark Wesseldine and some other people, but I mean, he had guys like, Vesling and people from all over the country that were a part of his team. There were other fire departments. It took me at least another decade to realize that it's not that he didn't have friends on the FDNY. He was picking a diverse group of people that were giving him diversity, but they were also into the job and ate up. Right. When he went to the Firehouse, whether, what engine it was before squad 18, 48, 45, so many companies run together, is they were into the job, but they might not have been into it like him. And that's another thing, the question, I'm going back and I'm going to cut this down in about a minute here so you can ask another question, but is, I really don't have an answer about the chief, the fire chief, is, I said it in one podcast, and it's easy to say it, and easier to say it than do it. Don't worry about them, man. Be into the job, be the best you can be. And if you think you've outgrown your organization, hopefully you have an option to go to a different organization without having to start over pension wise. And that's one thing that I really wish the American Fire Service has, was like the military, standardized pension. I did 9 years in Pensacola. I was 1 year short of vested. I walked away. To Scambia, if I want to leave, it's tough because I'm, since I started over, I got 20 years with a Scambia. I'm 5 years short without being penalized. But so it's easy to say that, but life is short. And if somebody that's ate it with a job, I hate throwing names out here, but he's pretty open to us about what he does. But Fit to Fight Fire. If you know who runs Fit to Fight Fire, just look what he's done and how he's jumped around and chased what feeds his passion and what he enjoys and what's important to him. And, Brian Brush, I hate to throw these guys out there, but I mean, it's not like they've been secretive about it. They've moved around and done things. And I'll tell you, I study those guys, and very rarely do I see one of them that's not happier when they make that leap and that jump to a different organization. And I don't like to call it a fresh start, because it's not like nobody knows who they are. They're not a used car salesman. They just get to share that passion, even if it's not 100% of the new organization. It's 10, and that's what you, Corley, you're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. We're looking for people that are excited when we talk about firefighting, that motivate us to motivate them, and we live off of each other's energy.
No doubt about it. The oxidizers, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to catch you up on some comments coming at you, because Jason Halverman did chime in. He said, I will personally pay a conference fee for somebody that can make the trip. You have to go. So I'm putting that out there live. Booster backup for the win. Great lesson from Chief Ike. I'm looking for him here. There's a lot of comments, Chief, so I'm scrolling through them for you. The fire training in Pensacola Beach in 3 weeks will be like none other, thanks to the vision of Curt and so many. That's from Chris Stretch Martin. Jason Halverman again chimed in and said, Chiefs, take your rookies to one of these conferences and spend time with them talking fire. Great advice.
Hey, real quick, I got to cut you off. I got to tell you, Chief Halverman came to a conference, and I don't know what they call it, but it's like their union president. They have a different term in Missouri. What do y'all call it? It's not the union president, but like the master of the union, or God, he'll comment and say, comment. Yeah, but he and they brought their firefighters there, and it was management, leadership, and labor and management coming together, the union, and come to a conference to literally infect these young firefighters that, hey, this isn't your rookie school. This isn't your junior college instructor. This is professional developmental, high energy, professional speakers, legit hands-on. And I tell you, man, I was guilty years ago. When I was a younger firefighter, I didn't care about the bar. I didn't care about the social thing. It was all about training. And, as a business guy in marketing and smart, I finally realized that, you know what? There are people that are coming here that if we can give them the proper package of a good breakfast, a decent, they're not being rushed for lunch, and at nighttime they can have, regardless if they drink or not, they have a good time. I might capture that group that's not ate up with it like us. And that's what's powerful. And that's what we try to do. Is training is 100% our top priority. But if we've got to throw in a little bit more social aspect, a little bit more brotherhood and goofing off and all that other stuff, and that sends them home excited to be on the job in the fire department and read them. That's it, man. We want to talk about balance between family and the fire department. Well, shit, man, people like you and I that are ate up with it, that want to train from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., maybe we got to back off a little bit and give balance for that guy that maybe only wants to train 6 hours. And if that's what it takes to get them on board with us, and that's what we do. And it's been a learning curve for me to realize that sometimes less is more. And I'll say that again, less is more.
Nice. Beautifully said, Chief. I'm going to catch you up. I got about 18 people that said shop steward as far as the title.
That's it, shop steward. I couldn't remember what it was. We don't have that in Florida, so I always forget.
Justin Lorenzen said, the wife and I attended COBC a few years ago. It was one of the best conferences I attended. The wife really enjoyed it as well. Strongly recommend it.
COBC, man, I don't even know. It's basically sold out. We posted the other day, we had the spots. I haven't closed registration. I just know some COVID people are going to cancel, but we haven't shut it down, but it's borderline being shut down because we're already sitting at like 600 people. I'll tell you this, it's going to be like no other COBC. Jessica and I are going to open on Tuesday morning. That's the 2 days after Mother's Day. And this is her idea. We've never talked about this in the past. She brought it up. She's going to talk about how we got married and literally less than a year later, she's attending the funeral of Maurice Bartholomew, which is 201 on the CFT logo, signed to the back engine 5. Anybody that follows me know that's what drives the conferences. And, I was a pallbearer to carry his casket and put it in the back of a fire. And for her, I'm interested to hear what her perspective is. As a newlywed, no kids yet, wife of a firefighter, a fireman dies in a 1-story private dwelling. I went to the fire. He's one of my firemen. I got him assigned to the company, and she other day, just in a little bit of time, I didn't want to ask you questions because I don't want to get emotional, but it was a game changer for her as a spouse to understand the importance of investing in yourself, her supporting me investing, and then being a part of the firehouse, the fire department, and what's going on. And we're going to open that first morning, and there's going to be 200 spouses there. That's not a joke. I'm not exaggerating. 200 firefighter spouses. That didn't count the hundreds of firemen that are going to be coming to Pensacola Beach. And we're going to be in that big room, and we're going to talk about marriage and line of duty deaths and some of the stuff that in the military that they do with wives, spouses of, military personnel, more specifically military officers. And then day 2, Chief McGrail and his wife Gina from Denver are going to talk about, marriage in the fire service. And both him and I know what it's like to be a target, man, embracing the target on your job. And, some people call it jealousy, whatever. I call it just outgrowing your organization, and I'm just being frank. You've gotten so big into the job, not bigger than anybody else, but you're so big into the job. I'm sure, Corley, you doing these things, not everybody loves it on your department or your area that you're doing this. Right. I mean, they probably don't give 2 shits that you're doing this, but Frank Visguso said it at dinner when we were at ODP. And his exact thing was, he said, I know 25 people right now on the national circuit that speak in the fire service around the country that are hated on their job by their own people. It's more common than it's not. And the reality is we're not better than the people in our fire department. They just have different interest in them. And we make them insecure because our interest is the job that we do, that when we go to work, they know that we know that today, January 26th, 2 firemen in 2014 died in Toledo, Ohio in a 2-story white converted building. And, for me, less than a year before, I was eating chicken wings with one of them at the Bowling Green, fire school. And that's what guys on your job, I'm talking to everybody that's listening, guys on your job don't get that. You go to these conferences and you meet people. And I'm getting fired up. Yes. Every time I hear a line of duty death, I don't care. You know what I mean? If it's Florissant, Missouri, where Chief Hovelman is, if it's Oakland, California with Daryl Liggins or Dennis Laguerre. I mean, if it's a fire department and, I'm like, shit, do I know somebody there? Right. Oh, yeah, I know so-and-so and so. I hope it's not them. My first cousin, Rob Isakson, works on L.A. County, California. Something happens in L.A. County, I got to make sure it's not my cousin, my dad's brother's son. And every time something happens, when Michael Davison died on 69 engine in Harlem, man, I've been there before, with Ray McCormick and Mike Hayes, some big top mentors of mine. I've been to that far. Every time a line of duty death happens in a firehouse around the country, I'm like, I have to stop and think I might know these people.
Right.
And a lot of you listening, people in your job, they don't get that. They don't go to fire conferences. They don't teach. They're not connected in the world of buffing and fire service stuff. And it doesn't make us better than them. It just makes us more complicated than them. That's what it really does. We're not better than them. We're just more complicated. And it really puts more stress on us. It puts more insecurity on them, which it shouldn't. They should just be like, hey, do you know somebody? I'm going to this city. Maybe you could connect me with a fireman. Oh, yeah, I know like 6 guys there. I can probably get you a cheaper deal on a condo, And it's one of those deals. And I think, by the time you figure it out and you get old enough, you're off the job and it doesn't matter no more. There's one of those, I don't remember what it was. There's a pretty cool meme that, like, when you're in 20s, this is what you worry about. When you're in 30s, this is what you worry about. When you're 40s, you don't give a shit no more. You know what I mean?
Finally.
It is what it is. But I think that, it's easy to be negative about people being in the job. But as long as we have whatever you want to call it, the 1%ers, 5%ers, the people listening tonight, the people that go to conference, the people that run conferences, they're making the real difference. When you're putting on a conference for the first time in your local city, fire department, municipality, God bless you, man. I wish everybody in the fire service knew what it took to put on a conference, and I wish they knew the lack of return. And this isn't for me. I'm talking about, David putting on the Lake of the Ozarks or, whoever, man, one of MAFC, man, the Metro Atlanta Fire Conference. I mean, nobody will ever top what they did and how they did it for free, and the board of directors and Chief Tanks. And, if people knew what went on behind the scenes, man, they would keep their mouths shut, and they would just think those guys were freaks, because the people that are lobbing bullets, they're out making $200, $300, $400 a day building fences and building bathrooms and showers and laying tile floors and doing whatever else. And these guys are volunteering their time to make a fire conference happen in the backyard, begging people to come for $100 for 3 days.
No, and getting complaint. You try to put it in your own jurisdiction so your guys can come, and then people complain they have to go on duty.
It's crazy. No, man. And you know what? Eventually you'll just get over it. Brian Brush asked the question this last summer, man. JJ Cassetta, one of my best friends from Orlando, brought his wife and kids up, and man, they'll be in trouble that they don't come every single year. But he came up and stayed at our house. They were in the RV because of COVID, and we hooked them up in the driveway. And then Brian Brush and his awesome wife and kids came and stayed. And that was the highlight of my summer with COVID, man. A buddy from Oklahoma. I mean, really, come on. And a buddy from South Florida. I mean, not that I don't have some great, awesome local friends, but the highlight of my COVID summer of 2020 was 2 brothers and their families staying at my house, to hang out and just chill out. And that's my goal when I retire is, man, it's not a joke. I got a list of buddies all over the country that I'm going to go on vacation with them, man. I hope he's listening. Rob Fisher and his wife, Jody, they are taking me to Spain, Italy, and everywhere else because they're world travelers. Nice. And they got it figured out, man. I've square rooted this shit. I am hooking up with somebody that's got something to offer to me that I enjoy, intellectually hanging out with them because they're more intelligent than me, so I can learn something from them.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna try and catch up. Here we go. I have one question. This is a question I know you get a lot, but it has been asked, and I said I would ask it, and it was like, what can you explain it's worth the risk? So we have someone who does not know it's worth the risk.
No, I love that. That's a legitimate question. So,
okay.
The wristbands on my thing. So I have a standard phrase that I tell somebody. So if you're wearing a wristband, you get at one of our conferences, and Jim, Mr. Smith, Miss Smith off the street walks up and says, "So what is this worth the risk?" It's a simple saying. It's worth the risk for me to risk my life to save yours. I am an American firefighter that volunteered to sign up to work for the fire department. Yes, I get paid. I'm employed. But I volunteered just like our military is volunteered, other than a draft. And I am willing to put my life on the line to save yours. It's that simple. It's worth the risk for me to risk my life to save yours. That is the whole premise of it. Is it about interior firefighting and aggressive fire? Yeah, that's great. That's all the spin. But the real basic mission statement of the wristband, the T-shirt is, it's worth the risk for a firefighter to risk their life to save a civilian's life. That's what we signed up for. It's no more complicated than that. It's pretty basic.
Dude, that keeps it simple, man. I love that, man. Yep. But no, I wanted them to know, because if you like, yes, I'm glad you explained it, because you explained it so eloquently. Next question we have. I'm going to catch you up with some other. Okay. I'm scanning through. Chief Isakson message motivated me to start his own job fire training LLC and try to make the fire service better than I found it. Thank you, Chief. Chief Ike, how has COVID affected the way you train while on duty?
I mean, that's a controversy. I mean, you got to remember when you're on the fire department, you got to be careful what the CDC saying, what your state saying, what the county's saying. As a whole, I mean, our department has, we had some hands-on training that was going on last spring that a few people complained, and I don't have a problem with them complaining. Everybody's different about how they get worried about this stuff. And you got to remember, some of these people, you don't know if they're going home to an 80-year-old father or grandfather or whatever. COVID is legit for older people. Do I think younger people are okay? I think that we're doing okay. But I think, it's a risk that everybody has to have their own opinion and manage it, but training has to go on. We have to move forward with it. That question would be a little more, detailed, I guess, 6 months ago. We're getting the vaccines now. More and more people are getting. The more people that get it, from what I've read, that should help us. I can tell you, for us, we only canceled one conference last May, Command Officer Boot Camp. In August of last year, we moved forward. We had Water on a Fire. I will tell you that Water on a Fire, though, to make sure nobody thought that it was about money or profit for us, we gave a gold pass to anybody and everybody that didn't want to come. No ifs, ands, or buts. You didn't have to ask a question. If you got in for $199, your gold pass was worth $550. That's what we did. And we had the conference, and there was no negative feedback. We didn't get one person call us, not a chief. Nobody saying, we spread COVID. And we had a great week last August. And then in December, I canceled ATROC. I moved it to February. We weren't going to have any training. And, man, I'll tell you, I need these conferences on Pensacola Beach more than the attendees do. My wife, we were having a long walk today, and she said, it's tough for me right now at my job, my department. It really is. I think everybody on my fire department knows it. I'm holding on by a bare string, just because there's big things I want to do operationally, and our staffing's been cut. And when you're a part of something that's infancy stage and you build it up and you feel like somebody's purposely breaking it down, it gets complicated. So I need CFT. CFT keeps me alive. More than anything, man, just running the conference. It's a way for me on my days off to be pinging. Today I was on the phone with over a dozen different people, vendors, instructors. I mean, my ADHD was bouncing off the wall today, doing emails and calls, signing a contract with Dreamcatcher Shuttle Service for the next year. And so, for us, the conference is really, man, it keeps me going. So in December, the hotel was like, oh my God, we're going, we're broke. There's nobody staying out here. The bridge is out. So I didn't even know how I was going to pay for it. And I'm standing at the Hilton on the 17th floor talking to the boss man. I said, we'll do a free benefit fire conference. We get in the car to leave, and Jessica says, how are we paying for this? Oh, I don't know. I didn't think about that. The Hilton's still going to charge us for the multimedia and the coffee and the banquet room. And that can be 20, 30, the price can be, more than people that have ever done a conference have a clue. I'm like, I don't know, babe. I just thought it was a good idea. Once again, I'm not a business guy. I just speak. I'm a fireman speaking from the heart. And luckily, man, we had some awesome sponsors, vendors, 10-8 and MSA and Key Hose and All American Hose and Columbia Southern and Super Vac. And, I sorry if I forgot somebody, but the sponsors came through, and, CFT was a sponsor too. But, we didn't collect $1 of registration fee for December for the hands-on training at the Best Western, all the lectures. The instructors paid for their own travel. We provided them a hotel room. They provided their own thing. And, the question is, how do you do training in COVID? You just do it. And you provide it. And if somebody didn't want to come, you don't make them come. You just, you work on it. CFT ODP in January, we had about 150. That thing would have been sold out at 250. We can go to 333 classroom style, but it was sold out. About 100 people didn't come to CFT ODP. We gave them a gold pass. Our Canadian brothers, man, they're awesome. I'm telling you what, man, the firefighters from Canada have been coming to our conferences since the creation of CFT, and they're awesome, and they were all cool. We gave them a gold pass to come to whatever they want, and no big deal. But the ones that could come because they're not quarantined, they don't feel at risk. They don't feel like when they go back, they're going to be they're at risk to, a spouse, a family member. That's great. And, we did have, after CFT ODP, we did have one person that happened to be on our staff that got COVID. And I'd be lying to say if I didn't think they got it at CFT ODP. But 150 people for 6 nights at the Hilton, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, doing training with like massive experienced chiefs from Texas and, Atlanta and Chief Isakson. The value is unbelievable. I mean, just for Matt Scallon and what he did for our job in his email, and now he stepped up and he's on his days off, is teaching for chump change to motivate others. I hope that answers this question. It's worth the risk, man. You got to value it, and it's a risk management operation. I mean, the coin's up back there on Corey's flag. I can see it behind his head on the wall there.
It's the third from whichever side that is.
Yeah, third from the right.
Thank you.
So it's worth the risk it's worth the risk for me to risk my life to save the civilians. But there's other things too. You got to value it, man. Jessica and I were more nervous than we've ever been back at ODP 2 weeks ago. But, we had too many people that wanted to come. They wanted to get out of they needed to hang out with like-minded firefighters. They needed that Monday to wear their Class A and say, this is what I got in the fire service about. I'm proud of this patch. I'm proud of this badge. And they needed to be motivated to go to a new level in their own personal career. And, it's always easy to find an excuse to not do something, and I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully that answered his question.
I think you very much so. Now, but it did. You did segue. Okay, I've been meaning to tell you this between questions or between the preaching is we're on the internet, so you don't have to censor yourself unless you're just feeling the need to censor yourself. Because you mentioned it earlier. But
I'm just trying. My wife's on, man. My dad was against 4-letter words. He was an instructor in the Air Force. And after my dad died 4 years ago, I went from never using 4-letter words ever to it's like every other word sometimes. So I'm trying to rein myself back in.
That's fair.
It's okay in an 8-hour lecture if you do it once or twice, but I'm trying to rein myself back into being a more professional talker, especially when I get a crowd.
Excellent. Okay, so I have a few questions. Well, I'm going to hit you with this one first. Eddie Steele's coming at you and said, Chief, respectfully, water wins. Why switch from 15/16 to 7/8 for an extra 25 GPM for 9 pounds of nozzle reaction? 9 pounds of fireman up. Isn't it worth the risk? Please explain.
And that's really a great question. And, know your flow and the gallons per second test that we did 21 years ago. I mean, that's a 2-hour podcast in itself, but I can tell you that, it's not about, manning up or being stronger. It's just about what's necessary. And, I'm a big advocate of gallons per second. I'm a big advocate of 2.5-inch hose lines. But I'll never forget a couple of years ago sitting in a Mexican restaurant in Ohio or somewhere, and it was, Mike Alt and Keith Stakes and Steve Kerber and some of the other people in the UL test, and I could tell they were giggling, laughing at me because I'm like a 2.5 on a shotgun house fire. I'll use a 2.5 on a trailer fire. I believe in a 5-gallon bucket on a cigarette, and they were laughing at me, and they just, they said, we don't want to really go on the record, but if we really truly knew how little water it took to put out a fire, if we put it where it needs to go, it'd be amazing. And that comes down to my analogy about a water extinguisher. A 500-gallon booster tank is 200 water cans. A 500-gallon booster tank, an urban city booster tank, is 200 water cans. And I don't want to get into this being a class, but we got people thinking they got to lay a supply line on a bedroom fire. But hell, you go in there and try to hit it with 1 or 2 cans, and you got 200 of them in the booster tank. So if that water can, it's 2.5 gallons of work, then I'll promise you, I'm glad. See, man, I was waiting for this. It's worth the risk to use a 7/8. Man up, get over your ego, drop the 15/16, drop the 9 pounds nozzle reaction, and you can see the weight rack behind me. Do 30 reps instead of 10 reps. That's the difference between a 15/16 and a 7/8 is I don't care how badass you are, you're going to be tired earlier with a 15/16 than you are a 7/8. And even if you're phenomenal with a 15/16, you're going to be that much better with a 7/8. And you're right. You're giving up 25 gallons, but you're giving up 9 pounds nozzle reaction. And on a percentage scale, think about that. 25 off of 185 versus 9 off of 69 going back to 60. And I really prefer to even under pump the 7/8 down to about 150 gallons a minute and get it to 50-some pounds nozzle reaction. We're literally 175, 150-pound firefighter can open the 7/8, completely take their hand off the bail and never shut it down and let the water work, let the water wind move as you go and be comfortable. You don't have to mentally, physically exhaust yourself on the technique and how much time you spend in the gym just to flow some water. I mean, the reality is for 17 years, I've been standing in the front yard. I've yet to see a 7/8 back out from an interior fire attack. I'm going to say that again. 17 years in a busy, low-income metro county, I've never seen a 7/8 back out once it broke the threshold, flowing 150 gallons. Not 160, 160. We underpump them. And I'll say this and we'll move on. Don't let anybody ever lie to you. The 7/8 and the 1.1 are both Selecto gallonage tip smoothbore nozzle tips. And what do I mean by that? And we're not going to get into it. Okay. A 7/8, you can underpump it and you can overpump it on 99% of all the hose that exist. An 1.1, you can underpump it and you can overpump it on 99% of the hose that exist. When you start getting up to 15/16 and you underpump it, and I'm not going to throw out any brand of hose, but cheap hose, grandma's green garden hose. Everybody knows what grandma's, green garden. You underpump a 15/16 on cheap hose, and you're going to have all the anti-smoothbore people freaking breathing down your neck about how pathetic a smoothbore is because it's kinking, because you're using a 15/16 on cheap hose. Well, that 7/8, that little bit smaller is going to create a little bit more back pressure to compensate for that cheap hose. And that's only the answer. He's going to get me off track now, man. That's one of my but it's taken me 20-some years. I don't argue with people anymore. If your department uses 15/16, that's great. If it's working for you, it's awesome. But I'm telling you, man, any fire department in the country that does not own a smoothbore nozzle and they're buying it, I think they're crazy not to do their own personal hose and nozzle evaluation. And don't do it in a parking lot. We don't go to parking lot fires. Do it in a house, a building, 1, 2, 3-story drill tower, private dwelling with theatrical smoke, and do the gallons per second test where you can truly see what they can do under low visibility with furniture and crap moving around with the nozzle open, flowing water. Is that a good enough answer?
That's perfect. You can teach school as long as you want. Just preach. I want to back up on you on the benefit concert because I missed my segue into this question that I wanted to ask you. And this actually, I talked to Brian Brush earlier this week and said, hey, I got Curt coming on. I want a good question to ask him. And so I would love to take credit for it, but this really comes from your friend and mine, Brian. So the benefit the benefit conference that you put on in Pensacola, it was for that community that you belong to. And I'm trying to word this question right. That sense of community seems to drive like almost everything you do. When I was down there with you, like everybody knew your name, not just because you were putting on conferences, because you knew them. So just talk to me about community. Basically, go ahead.
Well, my sister graduated from Gulf Breeze High School in 1979. I graduated in 1993 from Gulf Breeze. I was a little late bloomer. I was 19 when I graduated. I'm lucky I graduated, to be honest with you. I was reading Firehouse magazine in elementary and middle school. But, the truth is, not to get real long-winded, most of the bars and the restaurants I either grew up, went to high school with, partied. The owners might have been my bartenders back in the mid to early 90s at one of the bars out there. Where the Best Western, the Hilton, the Holiday Inn, the Hampton Inn, where all those high rises are. 20 years ago, I was the training captain for Escambia County Fire Rescue, and I coordinated these one-story beach cottages called Surf and Sand Cottages. And my job, I live in Gulf Breeze. I drove across a little bridge, and they rotated companies out, and I managed us cutting their roofs off on both the Gulf side and the Sound side. Redfish, Bluefish, all of that, the Tiki, the RV park, all those were one-story beach cottages called Surf and Sand Cottages with jalousie windows. And I managed rotating companies out for weeks and weeks and weeks, forcing doors, searching, breaching walls, cutting holes, man. It was like a Disney World. And back then, the place was a ghost town. We did it in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And so I got to see all those buildings built. As a kid in high school or middle school, we'd go out there, and I boogie board more than I surfed. Like the beach houses, I knew which ones had hot water underneath them that we could go take a shower to cool off. So, for me, the benefit conference was we had the trifecta. We had COVID hit us in March. We basically shut down Friday, March 13th. Then we had Hurricane Sally hit us on September 16th. And then we had Skansky's barges take out our 3-mile bridge and cut us off from 350,000 people. And so people that I grew up with and friends with were literally losing their businesses. Businesses were closing down, existed over 20 years. And our 5 conferences that we do on Pensacola Beach, even the one in May and August, they're what we call a lull week. It's when the occupancy rate of the hotels are low, like wintertime, because May, it's Mother's Day week. High schools, colleges are all still doing their final exams. So it's a beautiful weather, but nobody can go on vacation. So I'm giving you more of a depth answer.
No, I love it. I love it. Go as deep as you want. Go.
So really, all 5 of our conferences are built around, one, the hotel rates are cheaper because the hotels can give it to us because they're not going to be sold out. It gives business when they're not going to get business anyways. Well, then when we couldn't do HROC in December, we got to do this benefit conference. I'm telling you, man, those businesses on Pensacola Beach, I had business owners and bartenders, waiters get emotional with me in private when I told them what we were going to do. And you got to remember, they're not making a bunch of money. This is what I try to explain to people, man. Everybody thinks everybody's making a lot of money. Do 200 firefighters buying a $15 lunch and then take away the cost of food, prep, labor, power, waterfront property taxes, hurricane, insurance. They're just appreciative that somebody's there giving them some business, man. They might still not be breaking even the day that we send all those people there. And for me and Jessica and the CFT team, it was literally to say thank you for 10 years of honoring a wristband and giving 10, 15, or 20% off food when they don't have to do that. I mean, they're, you know what I mean? Like, they got to eat. Or our tumbler deals that we do. Shaggy's on Pensacola Beach back in December 2 weeks ago at CFT. They're going to be doing it at HROC in February. 50% off. They get 21 beers on draft. 21 beers on draft or a 16-ounce tumbler, you get it 50% off. I mean, I'm talking about like high dollar, $8 IPAs. You're getting them for $4 or some beers are $2. I think it was like 75 cents for a PBR. And, shit, God bless EJ, but who the hell would drink a damn PBR other than EJ? I mean, really? I mean, shit. I mean, if I drink one, it's just remembering a fallen brother. That's the only reason I drink a damn PBR, but it's still for somebody that wants to drink it. And the reality is, yes, it was about them. But, I mean, CFT ODP, the Flounders, they've never given a discount, 15% off everything on Wednesday night during it. And, the negative people are like, oh, well, they're still making money. Well, yeah, but they'd still be making money because we got to eat. And, they truly do love the firefighters out on Pensacola Beach. They love the conferences. They love the time of year. They appreciate the spirit, the lack of seriousness of the firefighters, coming in there. And, to answer your question, it's not a joke, man. A benefit conference was free. It didn't, zero registration, $99 hotel rooms, surf and sand. Some firemen stayed for $69 a night, $79 a night. And they were able to eat for 25% off their food, 50% off beer at some places. And when it was all over, I was getting texts from the owners, man. They just loved it. And, some of them even told me, they said, I don't care if I lose money on alcohol and food if my wait staff is making money to give them hope to hold on for the spring and summer. That's what they're looking for. They just can't lose their staff. They're driving an hour and a half one way in traffic to get to work to hope somebody's going to show up to tip them 20%.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome, Chief. Chief, that's awesome. Okay. I had Silas Springer speak up. I'm scrolling because there's so many comments. I'm trying to catch up. And Silas Springer said, if Chief Ike approves myself and a buddy have CFT 100 passes, but we are unable to make it in February, we would like 2 other individuals to have the opportunity to attend the training. So if you and Chief approve, keys, give them away to anyone watching this scrap at the end tonight. So that's up to you. That's your conference. So I don't know.
Oh, no. Here's the deal. No. He can give to whoever he wants. The CFT 100, how many people, can you tell how many people are watching right now?
272 currently.
Awesome. Well, 272 people. I'm going to tell you right now, the CFT 100 is literally one of the biggest things I'm proud of. It's something I wish I had when I was in the training division 20 years ago. The CFT 100 is $1,000 and gets an individual, a department, a volunteer department, a fools group, a pass to 5 conferences. And it's just like owning box seats at a football game or a basketball game. It doesn't matter who sits in it. So if you buy a CFT 100, you could literally give it to all 5 conferences to 5 different. You could sell it. I don't care if you buy a CFT 100 for $1,000 for all 5 conferences. That's $200 a conference. If you average it out,
right.
You pay the full price is $550 a conference. So if you buy all 5 conferences individually, it's $2,700 and some bucks. That's how stupid of a price it is. But if you own those, you can give them to whoever you want. Within a week to a month out, we'll email all CFT 100s and we'll give them a code. All you do is give that code to whoever you want to register, and they get to register with that code. It zeroes it out. So, we want the 100 CFT 1 because there's only 100 spots for the CFT 100 because we just can't do more than that or we wouldn't be able to pay the bills. But it's awesome, man. We got all kinds of fire departments that we're taking care of COVID, man. We got a bunch of fire departments that didn't want to come to what we had. Fire department had 6 CFT 100s for last year, and they had a bunch of sick firefighters on COVID back in August for water on a fire. That they automatically we rolled them over to this August. We're not a corporate. We're not corporation. Jessica and I, we're firefighters. I paid out of pocket for all my conferences. You buy a conference pass and you can't come, we don't do refunds because it gets too complicated with our C-Vent and registration box on it. But it never expires. We roll it over. You can sell it. You can give it to her. What we want is somebody eventually coming to sit in that seat and get that training for what a crazy price. So to answer his question, you can give it to whoever you want.
Fair enough.
And if you're a CFT 100 member out there, before each conference, Jessica will email you each conference is a different code where you go on that conference and you fill it out just like you're going to pay. You put in that code and it zeroes out the cost. But I'm going to tell you, man, the CFT 100 is huge. I mean, it's a steal of a deal. We got so many fire departments that are buying 2, 4, 6 of them. And it's a way to send different firefighters to the different disciplines throughout the year, knowing that you're only going to pay $200 registration fee for a conference.
That's awesome. So Silas, I don't know if I have the ability to even figure out how to give one away or who is after one tonight. So I will say this. Jason Hovelman has offered to pay someone to go to a conference. So contact Jason Hovelman if you're interested in that. He says if you get there, he'll pay your registration fee. And then Silas has 2 of the 100s to give away. And if you want to give it away on the scrap, I will work it out with you. But right at the moment, I don't know exactly how to do it. So we'll continue on with questions. Is that fair?
Sounds great.
All right. I had one here that I didn't know about. So I was trying to scroll up. Gustavo Salcido said, what motivated you personally to come up with the Lost Firefighter speech?
The Lost. I'm not sure what he's talking about.
I don't know either. I wasn't sure, so I hadn't heard of it. So
when I talked to CFT ODP, I make so much shit up on the spot, man. I can't even remember what I said yesterday. The Lost Fire, and actually it's funny he says that is I'm going to build a program called the Lost Firefighter. And it really is, it's me being lost sometimes, really. And, it's one of those things that I think, some people get in the job because, it's just, they wouldn't apply for the cable company, the power company, whatever, the water department. And then some people get in it because they know somebody, they got a father, they get on the job, they're hot and heavy, they don't go to any conferences, and they just get lost. You know what I mean? Like they just, they're just coming to work collecting a check. They're not reading Firehouse magazine or Fire Engineering or FTTN's newsletter. They're not going to conferences, and they just get lost. And I'll tell you, I'm going to get sidebarred here again. What I notice is more times than not, when a firefighter goes to a civilian fire fatality, or worse yet, man, a line of duty death of a fireman early in their career, is a game changer for what their career is going to be and how much they're into it. Because they learn early on that what you can and can't do on a fire ground, what the people you work with can and can't do, is a decision and deciding factor on if people live and die. Whether it's you doing a VES, whether you went left and you should have gone right because your dumb ass didn't realize the bedroom's to the right and you're going to the garage at 2 o'clock in the morning, or whatever, that motivates them. But the lost firefighter before, where, I call it the 30-year third grade teacher, Miss Bryant, from where my wife taught, is it's hard to do this job for 30 years and stay into the job for 30 years. I think about being a 17-year battalion chief, and there's times where I think I'm bored being a 17-year battalion chief. I'm not bored with the fire service. I'm not bored with, learning and knowing what's going on, but you just get bored with doing the same, the exact same job. I think that's why sometimes it's not bad to go from an engine to a truck or a truck to an engine. I mean, every once in a while, an engine fireman's got to be on a truck to teach them math. So that's critical information. But the thing is, the Lost Firefighter is something I'm going to work on in the future and hopefully be a program to help those, kind of find their way lost. Earlier, Bo Vest put that, he claims that I helped him get reinvigorated in 2014. Scott Slocum earlier posted a little video. He's helping out with cleaning up my third grade website, County Fire Tactics. He's going to start kind of dressing it up a little bit. And, he's told me before that coming to the conferences has kind of reinvigorated him. And I think anybody that goes to a fire conference, whether it's Orlando Fire Conference, Fort Lauderdale, Massey, Lake of the Ozarks, man, the Barriers of the Oath, FD training, FD tactics. I wish I could, obviously Fire Nuggets. All the conferences, Firemanship PDX. Shit, man. If you go to Fireman PDX, which is not going on right now in Portland, and that don't fire you up, you're dead. You're done. Quit. Go be a trash man. So I think the Lost Firefighter is just something that's kind of was on top of my heart then. But I'm going to turn it into a program, and it really probably should be like for rookies, and then for anybody that's been on the job for a long time that's just kind of like, looking their way to get reinvigorated. I had a captain when I was in Pensacola, and he had 28 years on the job. He literally was down to about 18 months, less than 2 years, and he wanted to buy the little miniature Halligan tool from me. At the time, I was wrapping them. I was buying them from Bob Farrell Fire Hooks. I had this wrap with a sling. I called it the engine Halligan, like so you could hands-free, but you had a little bitty small Halligan for forcing, a single room occupancy door. And he wanted one. I was like, really, Cap? And he had a long talk with me. He said, man, I'm disappointed. I wasted the last 28 years. I got less than 2 years left. And he was buying his own tools with less than 2 years left on the job. He had been lost. He hadn't, and I don't want to take credit, but he hadn't worked with the right people to say, this is a badass job, man. And hopefully we're going to go to a fire today. I don't want anybody's shit to burn down, but if it is, I want to be on duty and I want to be there and I want to force the door and I want to pull the ceiling. I want to flow the water and I want to do the search and I want to get on the roof and I want to come back in and, passion feeds passion, man. And if you get around people that have a purpose and that purpose, they have a mission, and then you back it up with passion, they're unstoppable, man. And they're going to feed everybody else. And, every time I get negative, because I get negative too, man, I'm not always positive. I'm fighting some crap, that I wish I wasn't fighting right now with the direction of what's going on. But when I wake up and go to bed, I love the American Fire Service, man. I love the fire department. And, I got to say this, and we'll take another question is, Jessica taught full time for 2 years and she did a little bit of subbing. But other than that, man, everything we own, my kids' clothes, my son being in a fraternity at the University of Florida, travel, soccer, everything we own, everything I have is paid for by the fire service. Whether it's working, putting out fires, whether it's teaching, the fire service has provided a pretty awesome life for me. And I know some guys out there aren't doing that great, and I'm sorry for you, and I hate it. But I will tell you that part of it's on your own behalf to get off your ass and do something. This is no joke. For over 20 years, I've been putting in an average of over 100 hours a week. For 4 years, I was pulling 56 hours a week in Pensacola and 45 in the county full-time, collecting sick leave and annual leave at both jobs. I could have been on a insurance for both jobs. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but, shit, man, if you want to get after it, you got to get up at 4 a.m. and go to bed at midnight. You can't wake up at 10 and go to bed at 4 and expect to get somewhere. And so half of it is some guys just got to get off their ass. And when it's promotion time, the guy that picks up the book the day they announce the reading list, his ass ain't getting number one. It's going to be the guy that's been reading since the last test. Right. It's the guy that came to ODP. It's the guy that's on reading Firehouse magazine, fire engineering. It's talking the talk, walking the walk, 365 days a year. So when they're in an interview, it's comfortable. They can it's smooth. There's no they're not guilty because the chief says, well, what conference did you go to? Conferences? What's a conference? Right. You got to be investing in yourself every day. Investment is about the future. And you ain't got to just read Tony Robbins or John Gordon or John Maxwell. You want to be successful? That shit don't happen by waking up late and going to bed early. You got to invest, and it takes decades, man. Jessica today, you're getting me on a fired up. Now, we were walking today, and I was feeling guilty about a couple of things. And Jessica, we were walking, and she said, this is my wife talking to me. What you have, basically what she said, what you have started when you were a kid. Right. I started wearing bunker gear in 1988 as a junior fireman. People were picking on me when I was in middle school and high school. I was reading Firehouse and Fire Engineering magazine. I was hanging out in a volunteer fire department. On Friday and Saturday night, I was waiting to go to a fire, instead of going to the party. And this isn't about me. It's hopefully about motivating you. And I got a friend, I actually got 3 friends that have kids on the job. And the 3 friends, their kids aren't into the job near as much as they are. I actually got more than 3, but 3 close friends. Their kids are on a job, and they're not into it as much as them, and that's fine. But, if they're going to be half the fireman their dad is, they better get off their ass and start working because it ain't going to happen by chance, man. And, I'm not even answering a question, but Jessica, my kids are most likely not going to be firemen. My oldest for sure not, but that's fine. They need to do what they want to do to make them happy. But she was always worried about them being firemen and riding my tailcoat and me being on their ass because they're not, at it 24/7. This job, we don't get paid what Tom Brady gets paid. But guess what? It ain't about winning or losing and making it to the Super Bowl. It's about winning and losing with somebody's life. Somebody's going to live and die. And I'll tell you this, everybody listening, how many we still got listening right now, Corey?
We're at 263 currently.
263? Yes, I'll guarantee a third of you have been to a call or an incident, guaranteed in your career, where somebody fucking died because somebody sucked at what they did. They sucked. Excuse my 4-letter word for the first time. That's fact, man. That's fact. I think part of PSD in the American Fire Service is the fact that we went on a call and we failed. Mm-hmm. And our failure was our own fault. We weren't better at getting an airway as a medic. We weren't better at stretching a line. We sucked at throwing a 3-section 35. We sucked at forcing a door. You know what? We forced a door a couple of times, and you know what? The door's at our station. We did that. How many door props exist in the American Fire Service and firehouses, and they haven't been forced in a month or 2 months? It ought to be criminal to have a door prop in your firehouse and there not be 100% of the time wood to go force that door anytime you want to. It ought to be illegal. It ought to be criminal that there's not always the stuff there to force that door. Hands down, just criminal. I seen a bunch of firemen look like a bunch of damn goofballs forcing doors at fires, and they got a door prop in their firehouse. All right, I got to catch a breath. What's the next question?
All right, I want to speak to Silas and Rob, the other guy who wanted to give away the pass to the conference. I want to make it happen. So at the end of the podcast, or at the live broadcast when we're done, I will pull up a Google spinning wheel number and I'll get the names of everybody who wants in. So hang around for the end. How's your energy, Chief? We're over an hour in, so
I'm fine, man. I got a bottle of water. Hey, I even brought my Mountain Dew, man. For anybody that knows me, I got a Mountain Dew on standby.
There we go. So we're good to go. Okay. I'm going to find, guys, I am trying to keep up with the questions. I know I've missed some, but there's been a lot of comments. Write this down. I love it when people put all caps, write this down. So this is a badass job, man, and I hope I go to a fire today. That's a Curt Isakson quote from Brian Brush. There was that question at, how do you engage, albeit slowly, fellow firefighters that are only here for the paycheck? So you've kind of touched on this, but.
I'll keep this one short, man. One person at a time. You focus on one at a time. I've changed my opinion on this over the years. Don't wear yourself down forcing somebody to like something you'll never force them to like. You invite them to a conference. You catch them at that right time, man. Like after they've, done their fantasy football in the morning and they've taken their morning crap because they really just using that as an excuse to not mop the floor and whatever it is. You figure out the psychology. And at 9:37, when it's perfect timing, and you can put Detroit Burn on or, a good video, I forgot the name of the one with Captain Morris on it from New York years ago, but you just kind of small doses. I always like to say the one that Rob Fisher, 10 pounds of pressure 100% of the time, just a little bit of pressure on them. The big thing is get them to a conference, but you got to pick wisely, man. You got to take them to something, if they've never been to a conference, you got to get them to one where like their instructor is going to be Mike Champo. And at the end, if they don't like it, they're just an idiot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to think about it. You got to calculate, but I'll go back to what my dad said as a kid, man. It's one more person to go to church on Sunday and it's one more person on Monday night to go to the firehouse. And if we all get one more person, we double in size. And then once we fine tune them, that group doubles and it doubles and it doubles. So, quality, not quantity. But the older I get, the more I realize you can't force somebody to love this job. It's just, it is what it is. And I will say I've matured. I understand some people have chose paths that their side job and kids, they got sports, baseball, soccer, whatever it is, football. But a lot of them have put themselves in a financial predicament where they have to do so much on their days off, working their side job, whatever it is. I always like to say, laying tile, remodels, cutting grass, building fences, the thing that that's what every fireman does in this country. And that's not a bad thing. I'm a smart ass about it sometimes, but they become so dependent on that when they come to the firehouse, they don't give two shits about being a fireman. They can't think about it. All they can think about is the phone calls they need to make to line up their jobs or, to invoice their lawns or invoice the people they're renting their shacks out to because they're, slum lords or whatever it is, or, they're selling solar panels, whatever the hell it is. And I'm not being rude. I mean, it's a gazillion things. Shit, I'm at work. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I'm not going to call the kettle black. I just happen to be, my shit's firefighting. But I chose that at a young age that mine was going to be about the fire service. And if one of my kids was going to be in the fire service, that's exactly what I would want them to do. So to answer your question, man, you can't make somebody love it like you. You can just kind of slowly feed it to them and just hope they do. And focus on the ones you think you're going to be successful with.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I love it. I love seeing you get fired up when you say, I'm going to keep it short and then get to preaching. It's awesome, man. Walter Lewis. And it's fun to see the alumni of the scrap coming on, because Walter Lewis said, hey, horse, there's the water. And Jason Hoffman said, it's difficult to move members more than 3 degrees. A 3 member will likely not ever be a 9. The best they may be is a 6, if that makes sense. So got some great guys chiming in on those answers.
I just got to – what in the hell is Walt Lewis and Jason Hubelman on here for? You know what I mean? Like, think about that. The last question, the guy's asking, how do we get a young firefighter, another firefighter to love it? But we got Chief Walt Lewis from Orlando, District Chief Jason Hubelman, a fire chief, on here listening. I ain't got nothing. I'm not teaching them guys anything. And I'm truly not. But they just want to just hang out and listen to something they already know about just because they want to hang out with like-minded people. And that's the reality, man. It's like, orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, they hang out with other neurosurgeons because they just talk the geek language. That's just how it's how it works, man. I go back to what I said earlier. When I retire, I'm going to be hanging out with firefighters from all over the country. Literally, it's not, Jessica and I are going to travel, have people come hang out on our dock and vacation. I'm going to have like conferences where you don't pay anything. It'll just be like, hey, this week, a bunch of, retired firemen and their wives are going to hang out at Beach Club Condos or Portofino on Pensacola Beach. But not everybody's looking to do that. We work with a lot of people that are boring and they don't care about being the best they can be. Obviously they want to get promoted to make more money, but when they retire, they're going to sit down and watch TV and Netflix every night. They're not going to be interacting with other retired firefighters from all over the country. And I feel sorry for them, man. I really do. I pray for them as much as I think about it. And that's not very much because I don't waste my time thinking about it.
Nice. Okay. I had one for you, which this is one of my quotes. This one was one of those, it shouldn't have been, but it was. And it is, you said it up here in Oklahoma. Now you said it again at Commanding from the Sidelines, which is you have to flow water to need water.
Hold on a second. Let me make sure what time it is. I don't know if we got.
It was.
Here's the deal. I'll keep it short. I'm going to set a timer. I'm not kidding. I'm going to set a timer for this 5 minutes.
Okay.
This is not a joke, man. Because this is my top passionate thing is gallons per second in booster tank attack, and I think our main problem is the ignorance. It doesn't mean they're stupid. They just don't know any better. Is commanding officers lacking water application intelligence. I'm going to say that again. It's a lack of command officers, fireground commander, understanding, water application intelligence. That's all it is. And I'm setting a timer. So the reality is I talked about the water can. A 500-gallon city tank, that's 200 cans. A 750 urban or suburban county tank, that's 300 water cans. If you happen to be a 1,000-gallon booster tank, it's 400 water cans. And that's where gallons per second comes from. And literally a bedroom fire on a 2.5 attack, 2.5 gallons a second, or a 150 at 50, you're talking about 20 seconds to knock down the bedroom. It's actually disappointing. You've waited 2 weeks for the right night for your wife to want to actually engage with you, and the shit's over in 30 seconds. Think about that. That's what it is at a fire.
Right.
It's like you waited a month or 2 months for a job, and it's out in 30 seconds. 30 seconds is 75 gallons of water. And we got people laying us supply lines before we even we've even started using the water, and we possibly got Johnny and Susie trapped. Now, we got Walt Lewis on here. Now, if this house is across the street from the main firehouse in Orlando, that's different. They got like 25 guys on duty. I'm talking about 99% of the fire service where it's one rig pulling out of a firehouse with 2, 3, or luckily 4 people on a rig. You need that second rig to get there to help you with the first line, to use the water in the booster tank on top of the water in the second booster tank to force a door, push him past the threshold, put water on the fire, and search for the most important thing we do, occupants, to save their lives. And so you got to be using water to need water. And this bullshit that people keep regurgitating because They think it'll get them a seminar, a gig, or teaching, or because the IFSTA manual, God bless you, Oklahoma people, Brian Brush, but the IFSTA manual told us that we need to lay a line. Hell, shit, I've been on a fire truck dozens of times on a second due engine, catching a hydrant, and the third due engine couldn't get in because we were blocking them. But God forbid we went straight in and let the third due rig catch the hydrant. I mean, we ought to go back to SOPs because they were better than SOGs. I can promise you that. And it's just ignorant, man. You know, I say it when I teach command and control classes is we need smart, intelligent fireground commanders that can view the fire scene, view the fireground through the eyes of a fireground commander, not the eyes of a firefighter, not the eyes of a fire chief that's at home in bed that works Monday through Friday. The eyes of a fireground commander that has tactical competency, has tactical experience, and their ass really ought to be wearing a white helmet in front of a building on fire, making time-compressed decision-making to literally maximize staffing based on time-delayed tactics. And I'm telling you, it's probably the biggest problem in the American Fire Service is one fire department copying and pasting another fire department's SOGs when their staffing ain't the same, their time distance travel ain't the same, their buildings are not the same, their frequency of fire activity is not the same. And am I running out of time? I got 1 minute, 30 seconds. That's a problem. So yeah, you got to be using water to need water. And I'm going to tell you, you can take it for what it's worth. I don't care if I offend you. There are people that are dead, civilians in this country that we put in body bags. They're underground 6 feet because the fire department fucked up and the first due rig laid a line or the second due rig laid a line, and it was 10 or 15 minutes before we did a search because they were consumed with a static sustained water supply because they couldn't calculate the National Fire Academy flow or the Iowa formula flow or just basic common sense. We got 1,000 gallons between 2 rigs, and we got a bedroom on fire. We got a kitchen on fire. I mean, shit. What a water can do when you got 400 of them. I mean, just use some common sense. Did I answer his question?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's one of my and like I said, it was an eye opener to me. Sadly to say, when you brought that.
No, man, it's idiotic, man. I've said it numerous times when I teach. One of my top priorities when I retire is to have converted as many fire departments, rural, suburban, and urban, because urban departments have firehouses on the outskirts, not downtown, the outside, that run in private dwellings that they run by themselves with 3 or 4 in a rig. There's big city fire departments that ride 3 on a rig, 1 engine in a firehouse, and the next firehouse is on a medical call, and it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Hell, if it's 2 minutes, hold your breath for 2 minutes and see how that works out.
Right. I think the quote I saw I laughed at the most was, if vertical ventilation doesn't work, close your fireplace flue and see how that works out.
Oh, yeah. I've been saying that for years, man. These ignorant individuals that don't understand, ventilation. We need ventilation more today than we've ever needed in the history of the fire service. Horizontal, vertical, positive pressure, natural, hydraulic. We need, hell, we're telling everybody in the American Fire Service, the shit's nastier, deadlier, more thicker, more dense than it's ever been. But, oh, God, we don't need ventilation. No, we just got to be more intelligent about it. You got to read the 675-page report, not just the cliff notes, you dumbass. You got to invest in yourself, read it, not just some little 2-minute video that said, well, if you cut a hole in the roof, it'll burn a house down. Well, shit, yeah, if you don't have an engine company inside pulling sealants, putting water on the fire, at the same time you're cutting a hole in the roof. The reality is vertical ventilation's needed more now than it's ever needed. But we got to be smarter about when, where, and how we do it. Timing's everything. And that's why UL is awesome. They're really trying to get down to understanding what is truly a coordinated fire attack. It's not 30 years ago on a live burn where we break the windows and then push down the hallway. We sometimes push down the hallway, flow water on thick black smoke. We can't see shit. The thermal imager doesn't see shit. We just know we flowed a good amount of water, and now we take the window. We still need a vent, though.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. It's cut off very suddenly. Time is everything. These are my notes for Commanding on the Sidelines, where I got a lot of my questions today. Time is everything on the fire ground. I was looking for, but I won't dig through that right now. If you have questions for Chief, get them in while you can, because we're winding down. I've kept him up here for almost an hour and a half, so we're at 90 minutes almost. So I have to ask you this, and I want to touch on embracing the guilt. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because if people have seen you speak on it, it's very powerful, very moving. For me personally, I've never experienced line of duty death. Knock on wood. I hope I never have to in my career, or I've been very blessed in the death I've had to deal with. But I still want to keep the same fire that has. When you say embrace the guilt, that drive that it has given you, is there a way to project forward that, like, maybe you haven't hit it, but if you don't, might have to face that? Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Well, man, I wouldn't wish nobody.
Sure.
I wouldn't wish on anybody the carrying the weight of embrace the guilt. Embrace the guilt for me really is, you can't go back in time, and for me, it's a lot of things. I've had quite a few very close friends commit suicide. A fireman commit suicide. I took the last picture of him on the back of the rig a few days before he killed himself. Maurice in a fire as a kid. We lost a fireman in Midway. It was the only time my mom and dad, they forgot my birthday. My birthday was a couple days later. So the reality is, when I say embrace the guilt, man, is you're going to feel sorry for yourself a lot longer than anybody else is going to feel sorry for yourself. And eventually you got to stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you just got to embrace the crap, and you got to focus and move forward, and you got to embrace it, and you got to do the best you can, man. And I'll just use two examples, whether it's Maurice dying in a 1,200 square foot house fire and knowing what I could have done before to maybe fix it, or, my last conversation with, Matt Negley from Orlando. I'd become very close and personal with him and shared some very intimate, information. But I didn't see the warning signs. We had Dina Alley share mental health at ODP last week, and I'll be doing more of that at our conferences, because that's embrace the guilt, man. People are going to show up, and they're not signing up to come listen to Dina talk about mental health or, suicide. But I'm going to embrace the guilt by continuing to talk about death on the nozzle. Firefighters can die in 1,200 square foot house fires. You can be Matt Negley with a beautiful wife, two awesome kids that you spent $100,000 to have, all the money in the world. And, if you got demons inside, you got demons inside, man. And we can't go back and, we can't bring back those people, but we can never stop talking about them. And I've had this before. I've thought, there's probably people in the audience like, wow, there's Curt talking about Maurice again. That shit was 20 years ago. Fuck, I don't give a shit if that's what they say. 20 years from now, I'm still going to be talking about Maurice 40 years later, because his little kid grew up without a dad, and he'll never have that. I'll never stop talking about, Matt. I'll never stop talking about, Skylar. I'll never stop talking about my buddy Kevin Johnson. I mean, the reality is, when you stop talking about him, you forgot. We say never forget. Well, never forget means never forget. We still talk about the 23rd Street collapse. Still talk about the Wamba fire. I mean, Toledo, Ohio was 6 years ago. Do we have 1 year that we just say, well, screw January 26th? Who cares about two firemen that died in Toledo? No, we never stop forgetting about that. That's history. And more important than history, it's individuals that left family members behind. And to embrace that guilt, you share that message, and you hopefully change somebody else's life, and hopefully you open somebody else's, eyes, that they'll become a better firefighter, whether it's tactically, emotionally, or mentally, and just open them up. And sometimes you just got to take your own demons, full bore or straight on. I'm pretty open about it, man. When I'm talking on the dock, I'm sure there's somebody like, oh, shit, he does this. You're right, I do. I'm coaching myself. I mean, the most powerful voice is the voice in your head. The most powerful voice is the voice in your head. So when I'm teaching and I'm talking, or specifically when I'm on the dock and I'm doing what people think of like a Southern Baptist preacher, I'm really trying to coach myself to not give up on those. Like on Fire Vigilance, if you go to their Facebook pages about stopping complacency, I have to fight complacency. And if I'm fighting it, a lot of people are. We go to a lot of jobs. I had 2 good jobs my last shift. They had two good jobs last night. And if in Escambia County, I'm getting a complacent, and people I work with, I mean, places that aren't going to a job a month, I know they are, and it's our job to build each other up and fight off complacency. And whether it's mental health or tactical ability, we got to continue to raise the bar of expectation, because people live and die based on your investment in yourself and your abilities at the time of the 911 call.
Nice. I love it every time you talk about it, Chief. It hits me deep. Now, you just said Baptist preacher, so I have this question written down, which is, you have a very infectious style when speaking. I would almost say it's like a Baptist preacher. So where did that come from? Have you always been kind of bombastic, or just fired up, or whatever word you want to put on it?
Oh, I'm just an obnoxious individual. That's all there is to it. I feel very lucky that I have the very personal, close friends. Most of my very close friends, they're not introverts, but they're like pretty subdued individuals. I mean, people on here know Shannon Stone. Like, he might not say 5 words if somebody didn't come and talk to him, or my buddy JJ Cassetta from Orlando, my lifelong best friend George Foss. He's a training chief in Pensacola. That guy, man, he just sits there and makes goofy ass noises. He doesn't even talk. And, those guys, like, I appreciate that they're my friends, but I'm an obnoxious individual. It just, and it's just my personality. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but the fire service is all I've ever done. My dad loved it, as much as I loved it. I grew up going to fires with him. My dad came to all my soccer games, and he did the Gatorade and water and all that shit. He was there for everything. My dad was there for everything for me. But literally when I was 10 years old, I'd ride the fires with him, man, pull it up on shit on fire. I mean, I've said it a bunch in this classes. 1979, I was riding with him in a 1971 Volvo station wagon, blue 1971 Volvo station wagon, when I saw the first person, 40-some-year-old man, pulled out a 2-story house fire, put in a body bag. And so, when you're, at the time, I don't know what I was, 5 years old, 6 years old, whatever I was, that's a game changer. And then I get a little older, 1985, we lost an entire family of 5, just, a couple miles from my house in a fire, man. It changed my dad, and so I grew up, just, experiencing just some weird shit, some bad car wrecks on Highway 98 where I live. I remember a car wreck where there's an entire family, and, we pulled up and there's sheets all over the whole family. And, in today's society, people would probably want to report my mom and dad, or my dad, to families and children. But it was a different time in the 70s and 80s. And so, I don't know if I'm answering a question, but when you grow up seeing that kind of crap and you see that stuff, and my dad was in, military, Korea, Vietnam, and my mom worked at AFSOC. They were military people. My dad was enlisted, but, he was a blue collar worker that was a servant type worker, leader, airman, and, just compassion, man. And we went to church on Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I don't go 3 days a week now. We're doing good to go on Sunday, but I grew up, going to church a lot. And I grew up in, I won't want to call it a Southern Baptist church, but it was a Baptist church. And, it's just my message. I read a quote that was pretty cool. Clay McKee put it about, Shannon. And Shannon's one of my best friends, about, you should care about who likes you, because you can't leave people if they don't like you. And that is true. And I've had a bad habit of saying, I'm not looking for no new friends. I don't care if people like. I do care if people like me, but I'm not going to let it dilute my message. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let it dilute my thing. I'll tell you this. I would rather you be pissed off at me and it be the truth and it set you free and you change your lifestyle than you and I hang out again, because I'm not saying, I need to start saying, yes, I'm looking for new friends. But I only have so much time, and I have a lot of friends already. And the truth is, I love just hanging out with my wife. If you come to a conference, usually at lunch, her and I go to lunch together every single day. And some of my best friends, I don't have time to hang out and talk to them, but what's most important to me is that I impact you positively without any return. I'm going to say that again. What's most important to me is that I positively impact you, anybody listening tonight, without any return. I don't care if you come to a conference. I don't care if I get any financial gain. I don't care if I get any psycho. What's most important is that I do something, and I don't even need to know. I don't need to track it. I don't need to be told. That I just know that when I go to bed at night, that I made a difference in somebody else's life and motivated them to change the way they think, and hopefully they'll invest in themselves. So when they go to a fire, that maybe they don't turn out to be a Maurice Bartholomew, or maybe they pick somebody's life like Dina does, and they don't pull out a gun and kill themselves. Right. Or, maybe they go to a fire and they do better at this fire than they did the last one because they actually, did a post-incident critique, and they were honest with each other, just like pilots are after they fly,
100%. Love it. Chief, man, like I said, I can everybody here is saying the same. I just done. That's the truth. That's the truth. Laugh out loud. I'm obnoxious. That came from Howard Reinwald, of course, talking about your obnoxious comment. Chief, I always like to ask every guest on the scrap if they have books, and I know you do, but books that they think firefighters should read.
Obviously the John Norman Fire Officer Handbook. I think everybody should get the FDTN newsletter by Jim McCormick. I know it was $48, it's $60 down, but it is the most vetted articles that come out every month. Every firefighter should be paying it's $5 a month to get the FDTN newsletter of articles where Jim is picking out the best solid engine and truck articles. That's important. I showed you the report from Engine Company 82. It depends on your rank. I don't know the date. It's either April 12th and 13th or April 13th and 14th. I'm going to do another 2-day class on command and control of fires using Chief Vincent Dunn's command and control book. For Chief, that's a basic but solid book. Chief Dunn's strategy and tactics book, his battle space, anything Vincent Dunn, his safety and survival book. You should have all those books. Invest in and read them. If you're a company officer or building a company, you should have Scott Thompson's new functional fire company. Jason Hubbleman's book, the leadership book he has. You can write in it, take notes. And talking about Jason Hubbleman, he sent me $2,000 in books he paid for them, like 450 of them. I still have some leftover ones, and I'm going to give them out of this next command and control class. But there's a lot of books out there. Whether it's educational or it's motivational. 2,000 Alarms. You might have to pay $400 to get it, but that's a great book. Leadership. Step Up and Lead. I wasn't BSing 2 weeks ago. Step Up and Lead by Chief Isakson is probably right there with 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell on just an easy book for a firefighter to read that will motivate you to be a better leader, if you will. But I'll say this, I'm going to finish it off. And this book, people on here, half of them probably don't even know it. It's a blue book by William Clark, and it's the methods and techniques. It's the strategy book by Chief William Clark, retired from New York City, went down to the Florida State Fire College. The auditorium's named after him. And it hasn't been in publication for I don't know, probably 20 years, but I think you can still get it on Amazon. It's the only book that I've ever read where it equates 50 gallons a minute per person for staffing on fire flow needs at a fire. But Chief William Clark's book, it's the methods and techniques, like a strategy and tactics book. And I would say, man, it's just an awesome book. It's one of the few books outside of the Fire Stream Management Handbook they talked about Lloyd Lehman and Keith Roy Nelson, and just engine fire behavior, great fire behavior chapter. It's graduating beyond anything IFSTA does. So I would say anybody that's a firefighter, fire officer, chief, if you've never read that book, you got to get it, highlight it, train on it. I was fortunate enough to use that book, 25 years ago. And it's highlighted in multiple colors and, pinned, and, I don't even know it when I'm up on stage, just randomly running my mouth 100 miles an hour. I'm spitting out some of Chief Clark's stuff.
I love it. If anybody has a link to the FDTN Fire Department Training Network, slap it up there for the people that are watching so that they can click on it and go sign up if they so choose, because Ike mentioned that. Okay, Chief, every week on the scrap, we have a thing that we do. It's called the 5 questions for Firefighters. Grant Finley, the name of the book was Methods and Techniques, Chief. Was that it?
I never say it right. It's like strategy. Let me look it up real quick. Just give me a second.
Okay.
I'll Google it. So that way I know I'm giving the right.
No, absolutely.
It's a blue book, and I always call it something different. Principles and Practices. That's what it's called.
Principles and Practices.
Yep.
By William Clark.
I'll see if I can show it up there like real close. The blue. Is that showing up?
Nice. Sweet.
Yep. So that's the book, man. Firefighting Principles and Practices. And, you know, they still got it. It's on here on Amazon, $59. I mean, that book is I rank it up there with Chief Vincent Dunn's books. Just solid fire behavior. I mean, that's a book that helped me 25 years ago jump on the whole, you got to be using water to need water, and intellectually trying to educate myself on water application and flow rates based on available water supply. I mean, here's the deal. For 1403, you're going to get me fired up again. For a live burn, we got to calculate flow needs. I mean, well, shit, if you're a fireground commander going to an address, you ought to have an idea of the square footage, the compartmentalization of the building, and what it requires. I mean, the military goes to war, they bring enough ammunition. I mean, shit.
Thank you, Ryan Wright and Bill Bubba Tisha Jr. for the FDTN. Thank you, Brian, for the picture. Brian Brush sent me a picture. I wanted to share my picture.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of. Mine is out of focus, but we got it. Okay. So there we go. Caught up on the books. I want to get you started on 1403, but I'm not going to do it right now. 5 questions for firefighters. We do it every week on the weekly scrap. So I'm very excited to hit them. Chief Ike, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Yes, and I have no clue what they are, so go ahead.
It's perfect, because the first one's a softball. It is, number 1, what is the number 1 issue facing the modern fire service? These are all, hey, let me give you the rules real quick, which is every answer is your opinion. There is no right or wrong answers, and the points are assigned arbitrarily by me. So there we go. Number 1 issue facing the modern fire service, according to Chief Curt Isakson.
Man, I wish I could read it. Like, it would probably be the quote off of the back of the Elkhart Brass T-shirt that Jerry and Stretch did, like where we're starving for information. But I can't remember exactly how.
Brush will pop it up here. Is drowning in information, starving for wisdom, or something along those lines, right?
Yes, that's it. I mean, that's it, man. Just to keep me from rambling for 10 minutes. That's it. You know, and just for people that don't understand is there's so much shit on social media, and some of it's good, some of it's not. Everybody wants an opinion. Everybody wants to be, everybody wants to be the next Tom Brennan, man. And I'm sorry if you're running out of time, but I got to say this.
You're good. There's no time limit except yours.
People got to stop trying to be something they can't be. If there's one thing I do, I keep myself in my lane. Since I've been doing these conferences, I try to bring in names bigger than me. I try to give them more time on the stage than me. This isn't about me, even though it's my conference. And I'll get people sometimes complain like, well, hey, we came here, they're going to hear. Well, shit, man, I'll probably be around when these guys aren't. Not to be rude, but they're 20 years older than me. They're going to retire. And so my message, everybody listen, is, man, stay in your lane. Be patient. Wait. Yes, keep reading, keep training, keep educating, but stop trying to force shit down people. I've actually backed off some on social media. Like, if you want to come to my class, I'll teach you. But, I mean, shit, man. I mean, I'm getting worried today that Chief John Norman won't teach. I mean, he couldn't come because of COVID. I mean, I don't want to use any other names like I'm offending somebody calling him old. But, I mean, I've been worried for 10 years on some of my top mentors the last day they're going to teach a lecture. And, the number one thing facing the American Fire Service is an overabundance of information that's not vetted. An overabundance of information that's not vetted. And I'll give you the solution to the number 1 answer. Get FDTN newsletter, $5 a month. You get a magazine that has no advertisements in it, and it's going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 articles that came out of a bunch of other publications that is vetted by Jim McCormack, his instructors, and it's legit. You're not reading some goofy ass theory that's not going to work on a fire ground.
Right. Someone who'd never even seen the interior. I love it. You got me talking. So that means that when anybody gets me talking on an answer gets max points. So it's a great answer on number 1. Number 2 is, What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting? I like it when you don't have a preemptive time to think about it. Go ahead.
I think the excitement of everybody finally getting over the turf wars of UL, interior, exterior attack, and us all coming to a common, agreement. People early on thought Ray was against it, and he wasn't. I mean, he's smarter than anybody that's probably even watching tonight intellectually. It's just time. It takes time to vet it, man. I got to steal Ray's thing. Like Ray said, when the new iPhone came out, he ain't getting a new iPhone. He's gonna let everybody else get it and figure out if the damn thing works or not. And then he'll get it. And so I'm most excited about putting the UL studies to work. I'm most excited about truly taking the science, truly understanding it, getting through the weeds of it, bringing all the studies. They're doing the search study now, putting it with the coordinated tax study of when to vent, when not to vent, on top of the interior, exterior tax study, and just being patient, man. Everybody jumped off the ship about the exterior, myself included, about the exterior attack, and man, everything, all water's got to be from the exterior, and oh shit, then the interior tax study came along. Well, man, we got to be inside the building, and we got to be using a straight stream, and I'm most excited about when all these UL studies are done, us vetting them and putting the science to work on the street in an aggressive manner that brings it's worth the risk to the table.
Nice. Chief, I could listen to you talk about this. I wish I had more than 5 questions. Okay, number 3. What is the best rank or position to have in the fire service? 100% your opinion.
A firefighter on a nozzle. I mean, there's nothing better than that. I mean, it's just like to be a firefighter on a nozzle is better than forcing a door. I mean, at a real fire in a real building that's on fire. It's better than forcing a door, cutting a roof. And I did more time on a truck and, hell, I might have cut more roofs than I did on, I don't know, on a nozzle. But there's nothing better than being on a nozzle. Everybody lies to you, man. If you pulled up on a building and you got to go inside and there were 7 rooms of fire and you could be on the nozzle or you could just force the door, you're an idiot to force the door over putting out 7 rooms of fire with a nozzle, especially if it's a 7/8. That's it on the nozzle. That's a firefighter on a nozzle. That's what this job's about. Firefighters doing firefighter shit.
Well, the answer is completely your opinion. Here's the deal. The correct answer is company officer, and that's what gets max points. But the passion and the prop, and so you get max points. The first time I think anybody's ever got max points for saying backstep firefighter. But we'll move on.
And company officer is just the standard of what everybody said. I mean, everybody says, but if you look back in your career, most of the time, if you worked for a good company officer in chief, your most enjoyable time was being a firefighter. I think people lie when they don't say that. My most enjoyable time, 239 North Spring Street, Pensacola Fire Department, man. Working on a 1971 Chieftain American LaFrance 100-foot aerial or a 1977 open cab American LaFrance laying double A's at 2.5, going to 100-year-old wood frame houses. It'll never get better than that. That was the best.
I can't argue. That's why. That's the first time I think I've ever given max points for a non-company officer answer. So congratulations, sir. Number 4, the best advice you ever received. You have a lot of mentors to go through here.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, man. It doesn't mean I listen to it. And I don't do it either. My dad told me a long time ago, think before you speak. And that's because I'm obnoxious. So people probably get a kick out of that one. I've had a lot of advice, man. And, I could tell you an hour and I'd get emotional. I've been blessed. Anybody that knows me, if you wrote down the list of who my friends are, my mentors, the people that have given me direction, people that have built my career, it's legends of legends of legends. And, the toughest question anybody asks me is, how are you friends with this guy or how are you friends with that guy? And I say, because they decided, not me. I don't decide to be friends with people like that. And so I really can't say, I'll leave it at that. My dad told me, think before you speak a lot when I was a kid, because I've always been, boisterous, loud, and get in trouble at school for, I used to get written up at school for talking in class. I know it's hard to believe, but, think before you speak. And I'll leave you with this. Everybody that's listening, one of my top goals for 2021 is emotional intelligence. And my buddy Jake Noah, he's my IT guy. He's a battalion chief in Midway. Him and I had a long conversation, and there's a book he read that I'm going to read. But I'm going to forever, I've never really been a priority of mine, but I'm going to make it a priority in 2021 to work on my emotional intelligence.
Nice.
And I really think, and I thought about it a lot when Frank Visguso was teaching during ODP, because I sit in the classes too, is I think really to achieve your ultimate potential, you have to learn within your own realm emotional intelligence, and that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses, man. I just say what I think. I mean, so I don't mean to get off sidetrack of your questions, but think before you speak, and basically without saying it, my dad was basically telling me, learn to have some emotional intelligence.
Nice. Very nice. Perfect answer for coming from, especially to get the insight that you might've got written up in school for talking. So number 5, final question. And it is heavy fire and searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
Well, that's a simple question. I mean, I could say, I remember I actually watched when Howard did this, and Howard talked about what I believe in about taking a line through a window and doing all that, but I'm not going to say that. Howard said that. And that's something the American Fire Service has got to start teaching in their VES class. 2 things. I got to tell this because and this is in honor of Skylar, a girl that my daughter played softball with, died on the 3rd floor of a house just a few miles from my house. She died on the 3rd floor, 14 years old. And because of that, I share this when I go around the country, is we got to stop just doing 1st floor VES with a little 1-year-old baby doll. We got to practice 2nd and 3rd floor VES using ground ladders, using full-size rescue mannequins, or, people, if you will, because that's going to be the high probability that they could be trapped on a 2nd or a 3rd floor, and it ain't the little kid every time. But I'm going to take the hose line because I'm an engine company operations guy. I believe that water creates and maintains survivable space. And a majority of the fire service, we don't have the ability to read the building or the staffing within John Norman's first chapter of his book, talking about enough people to do one or another.
Right.
And so I say that 99% of the time, if you go to every fire and you rapidly stretch and apply copious amounts of water, you will create and maintain survivable space, both for the trapped occupant and the firefighter that's going to go in to confirm that the building's vacant. So I'll be on the hose line to create and maintain survivable space.
I love it. And you get max points because the use of the word copious. So
yes.
No, perfect, Chief. There it is. The answers to the 5 questions for firefighters according to Chief Curt Isakson. So thank you for doing it with us, sir.
Awesome. It was a great time. I appreciate it. I thank everybody giving up their night to listen, and hopefully I gave you a nugget or 2 or motivated you, and hope to see you at a CFT fire conference in the future. The shuttle will be waiting outside of baggage claim 3 at the Pensacola airport to give you a free ride.
Awesome. I'm going to wrap it up here, then I'm going to get with Silas, and I'm going to keep on broadcasting and do the Google wheel of names. So I'm getting ready to take a whole bunch of names and type them in. So if you're willing to stick around for it, Silas, just start talking to me here. Chief, amazing time. Thank you so much for taking your evening and rescheduling with me and coming on. It was enjoyable, sir.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. I really feel appreciative that you asked me. Have a great night, everybody.
Everybody live, thanks for watching. Thanks for the questions. I hope the tone stays silent unless it's burning. Stay safe out there. Thank you, Chief. All right, we're still live, so I'm going to do the giveaway. Chief, can anybody hear me here? Hold on. Okay. Da-doom, da-doom. Give me 1 minute. If anybody can hear me. I'm coming. I'm coming, I promise. Boom. Hey, here we go. Now just give me a minute while I keep on working on this. Still working. I'm not very tech savvy fast, so just work with me. I'm going to talk to you while I do this. I'm going to capture this window. My son's better at this than I am, so just give me a minute. All right, I don't know what I'm broadcasting yet, so just give me a second. I'm going to get this wheel of names up here, then I'm going to start adding to it. All right. Getting close, guys, I promise. In theory. Is this thing going to work? Okay, this looks like it might work. Here we go. Control Enter. All right, so now I just need to know who would be like to enter. I need you to do the names. All right, that works. Okay, so Ryan Wright, I'm entering your name. I have, sorry. I'll put it over here where I'm entering it. I've not done this before, so you guys all have to bear with me as I fumble through this. Ryan Wright. All right. Ken Johnson. If you're not in there, let me know. I'm just typing names in, okay? And I'm doing it really fast, obviously. George Robertson. Oh, I'm going to be slow. I'm sorry. I'm going to try and copy paste here. Bobby Southern. Tell me if I put anybody in twice. I don't want anybody getting an advantage. You guys got to keep me informed. Liam Bollock. Trenton Slattery. I'm counting on all you guys watching me do this to make sure I copy the right name, put it in. Don't miss anybody. Mike Burkby. It's really weird not to have someone to talk to. Should have invited Ike back so he could just talk to you guys while I put these names in. Eric Thiel. Robert Perry. Devin Craig. Oh, Devin Craig is saying Mount Wallace. I got you. I got you. Now, Silas, you're in charge of this, really. If whatever stipulate they are your giveaway, not mine. So if there's any stipulations that you want to be putting on this, make sure it's clear. Again, everybody, I'm doing the roll here, and it's to the generosity of Silas. And I'm not sure the other name. I'm sorry I missed it because there was a lot of comments going on today. Michael Snodgrass. Hey, the Snodster's here. Blake McBride. Sean Teacher. This is where I need an intern that just comes in and types in this stuff. And Taylor Clark. Justin Capal. Let me know if I mispronounce any names horrendously. Kevin Terapchak. The man is here. Ryan McCormick, I'm sorry. Guys, it's really weird not to have any. I hope everybody's someone crack a joke or something in chat so I can not feel so lonely. Truth is, I can't see it. Brian Rosero, Josh Fixie, Jamie Lynn, Jeff Littlefield, Victor Malsum. We're loading this thing up, guys. Matt Wallace. Chad Otruba. Got him. I got the mini snod. Chris Porty. Josh Tinseth. Jason Lena Cordell. Brent Newsom. Guys, this is an extremely popular giveaway, so I hope you don't mind. Mike Baumgart. Brian Schwab. Did I do Brian Schwab? Does that just sound familiar? Not gonna lie, they're starting to blur together. I know yeah, I'm gonna keep going. It may take me as long as you don't mind hanging out while as I slowly work my way through the list. Logan Scott Campbell, Ryan Thomas Winkler. The good news is we'll have a recording so we can check the truth, the veracity of anything I might have double entered or anybody who tried to cheat the system. Mike Robinson. Okay, thank you. That's where I'm at currently, is when you told me that Mike Robinson was the other guy. That's pretty awesome of you guys to offer this up, and I'm really proud and glad to be able to let it happen here live. Justin Capal. Did I get a Justin Capal? Like I said, they're all blurring together. Yeah. Romeo Cano. TJ Floyd. Gustavo Salcido. It is loading up, guys. Chad Otruba. I would say the two winners just need to PM myself or Robinson after tonight, and then we receive our code from Chief Ike, and we can get you all set up. Okay, perfect. So whenever we do get this done, message Silas Springer. This is his giveaway. We're just kind of doing it live on the scrap, just so you know. I'm putting you as the contact man, Silas, and then work from there with Robinson. Yeah, sorry. Amanda said she was in my wife's in the next room. She said she could have typed them. That's where I'm at, in case you guys are wondering, as I work my way through the list. Well, part of it is the I put Devin Craig in because he said, damn, I typed slow. It's the multiple windows and getting it over into the one where everybody can see it. It's just kind of, there's no good way to do it. In fact, I felt like I was doing pretty good, but now I feel self-conscious. Craig Levine, Sam Stein. We may not ever hit the end of this, guys. Must be from Oklahoma. I love it. Who let that guy in here? See, I'm distracted now. I was getting a nice rhythm. Ed Klasky. James W. Naninga. John W. Naninga. I'm not sure if he's entering. If you're entering, John, let me know, because it's Devin. I'm not sure. Matt, you're not even going to see the names in about 30 seconds. Ryan Vasliff. Yeah, it's getting tiny. Brandon Bailey. I don't even feel like I'm getting closer to the bottom of the list here, guys. I blame hey, Michael Snodgrass says Amanda Moore is underappreciated. I try not to tell her that. I try not to let her know. It's a secret. It's a well-kept secret. Tyler Wannix. Truthfully, I just wasn't set up to do a giveaway like this, and so it's kind of, and especially one that's this immensely popular. Who's double listed? I'll do a check on it. Matt Wallace. Matt Wallace is in there twice. Good catch, whoever caught it. It's probably me. He's probably, I'll take it as enter error. But good catch if it wasn't. Ben Hutchings, I don't think he caught. You might want to speak up again. Replying to Matt. Trying to stay up. Silas Springer, I just want to make sure people understand that this is for the one conference in February, not the whole CFT 100 club. Right on. That's up to you guys. Again, I'm not speaking for it. Make sure it's clear. Now, there is 2 Matts, but there was Matt, the one where I was in there twice. So you're not, John, you caught a good catch as far as me. I probably putting it in there twice. Was Schwab? Schwab was the same one, or was that the Matt already? I put too many names. Brian Schwab? I was doing another fine. Yeah, that's twice. Okay. We got a really diligent and watching crew here. Vigilant is what it's called. Hey, Kevin Morgan knows exactly how I type. Tiffany Sirock. Sirock. Tell me how to pronounce that one. Give me a phonetic spelling. My wife, Carrie Snodgrass, does the typing for me, mainly for his. Yeah, I get it. Sorry, you have placed me on there twice. Tinseth? I'm finding you, buddy. Oh, okay. Sometimes it's because I thought you were entering and you were just replying to somebody else, so I do apologize, guys. Cody Kendrick. Am I getting closer to the bottom, guys? Chad O'Truba said I duplicated him. Patrick Weaver. I got you, Patrick. Then I'll take care of the other. I'm going to put you in a third time instead of taking you out. How's that sound? I'm not going to lie. Got it. Back to Patrick Weaver. Shadow Truba. Matt Wallace ended up on there twice. Sorry, man. Did I already get him? Let me know if I'll check it at the end. My wife, Katie Dunfield. Okay. That's where I'm at. Sounds perfect. Me and Robinson work the same firehouse. We can get it sorted out. Perfect. Excellent. That's Silas saying. Joshua Tintis is on there 3 times. Did I catch it yet? Nice. I don't know how I managed that, but I got it. I got it covered. Jacob Green, I got you, brother. Justin Robinson, Scott Schuler. I thought my copy-paste skills are pretty good, to be honest. Hell yeah, Jeremiah. I'm going to see you in Vegas. I'm actually really excited. See all the guys. Zach Henson. Joshua Tinzith. Okay, I'm looking. Who all is going to Vegas this weekend? Justin Robinson. Okay, I'm getting you. Sorry, guys. I'm getting mixed up with the comments and the names now, so... Ed Klosky. Okay, is that... Okay, I cut out and back in what's on the line. Matt Sheet, you're on there now. Jason Cruz, I'm getting you, brother. Let me know. Thank you, Whit. Great stuff. Thanks for watching. I have Sleet on there twice now. Matt Sleet, I'll check it. Right next to each other. I'm beautiful. Don't be jealous of my skills here. It's Devin Craig fault. Travis Anderson with the Ryan Edmondson. Felt like I put Ryan Edmondson on there. Did I? Edmund. Nope. Okay. Sorry. You got it. You were not on there. Steph Anderson. The Nanga can come off. Oh, now we're getting... I have to do a fine. There's too many names. Did I put you in there? Try John. How many Johns did I put in? I don't think I put you in, brother. At least find is not finding it on the name. So, Sean Hazelhurst. Eric Ramsey. Guys, I'm almost to the bottom. Jeremiah King. There we go. I'll see you there. I'll see you in Vegas and there. Yeah, you can't get enough Chief Ike. Brock Wilderman. I'll catch it. We'll check it all. We'll check it all real quick here in a second. Brock Wilderman. Got it. Good catch. Ryan Edmondson. Did I just put it? I can see Ryan Edmondson. Aubrey Aaron. All right, everybody. Perfect. We're all in here. Is there anybody else? I've caught up. I thought you did too. That's why it was really strange when I didn't find you on the find. Okay. Let's see if I can get this. Let me see if I can do this right here. I'm giving you guys a few more seconds. I'm going to go there. I'm going to get the window capture going on this. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's put it behind the overlay. Let's figure out where I want to stick it. That's not it. That's it. No, that's not it. I want you guys to see my beautiful face here. That's the important thing, right? That's not even going to work, but that's okay. Close enough. I don't even like that. I'm just going to go back to here. All right, everybody. We got a drum roll going at all? Anybody got a drum roll? I don't know if I can find a drum roll. Let's look at YouTube. Got to get the hype going. Here we go. This will work. I'm sure you guys can hear it. I like this extended drum roll. All right, I'm getting it in here where I can see it. I don't even know where Facebook went. All right, guys, are you ready? This is the first one out of 2. Figuring out how to spin. Cody Kendrick. Congratulations. Please contact Silas Springer for your... sorry, there it is. Everybody good? I'm removing you from the list, and we're going to go for number 2. Everybody happy? So far, I mean, obviously, some are happier than others. And we'll get another drum roll going, because why not? This is high production quality here. Spinning. Win number 2. CFT 100 Pass to the February High Rise Operations Conference. Garrett Rose. Congratulations. I'm pasting it in the chat for posterity's sake. I'm going to stop the drum roll. Guys, thanks for hanging out and putting up with me doing all that. Garrett Rose, please contact Silas Springer. Everybody good? Was there any problems there? Everybody happy? Silas Robinson, Getting rid of that. I don't know which one. Yeah, that one. There we go. I'm back. I'm back. Now you guys see my beautiful face again. I don't know what I've messed up. Hey guys, Chief Ike was unbelievable. Like I said, Silas, you threw me a massive curveball there doing that. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't ready to get it done, so you guys put up with me doing all that. Thanks. You guys made that happen. It was a lot of fun. Chief Ike, man, I could have sat here and listened to him talk till midnight. And so thank you guys for coming. Catch the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out the weekly scrap. Share it with your friends. Tell your friends about it. Coming up, which I meant to do earlier, but yeah, you guys told me. We've got February 2nd, Lex Shady and Chris Tobin are coming on. It's the first time we're having two guests. They're going to be doing a lot of talk about building construction and Main Street America. Followed by Jeremy Hurst down there from Louisiana. Followed by David Woodward talking about revolutionary fire tactics at the lake. And then at that point, I'll be heading to Pensacola for H-Rock, which we've been talking about today. So I'll see you guys. Hope the toast stays silent unless it's burning. Stay safe out there.